you're not going to get breakthrough in your life without accountability of some kind. And,
Mm.
I even sometimes hesitate to use that word because most people think about accountability as spiritual policing. Did you do the thing? It's actually better to think about accountability as spiritual partnership. Not just did you do the thing, but how did it go? Where did it
Hmm.
go well? Where did it not go so well? And being able to give some of that corrective when necessary and some of that affirmation and way to go when things are going well. And so you can't do that in a teaching environment only, but when you get into training, you can begin to create spaces where really healthy spiritual partnership of accountability is taking place. And when that's happening, more and more people get to break through.
In that,
Yeah.
I mean, can I just share a story about that?
Do it. Go for
I
it.
don't think I've done it here, but where I got challenged on that big time. It was actually I was in Israel on a study tour with it was like a summit for disciple making movement leaders from all around the world, and we're tracing the life of Christ, and we're seeing how did Jesus create movement, all this stuff in the land. It was awesome, and there's a guy there named Ben Francis from Big Life in India, and it's just rapid, true DMM, rapid movement, and I just a humble guy, and I just say, I just go, Ben, I'm on a bus, and I lean in, I'm like, Ben, man, why do you see what you see in India, and we just don't see it here? And he looks at me and he goes, very humbly, he's like, Shane, see, in India, what I do is I train people, let's say, to share their story, and to share their testimony in just 3 to 5 minutes. And then I ask them, and I gather them in a tea house, he said, and I do this. And then I ask them, would you give the Lord 15 minutes this week? Just 15 minutes. And he says, and then they go. And we come back the next week. This gets to Dave's point on accountability. And he goes, the next week, I just ask, how did that go? And he goes, I go around the circle and different people. I shared with one person, I shared with two. It went terrible. He's like, I don't care. I don't care if it went horrible. I just want to know if that they tried, and we can coach back into that and things. And when I get to my brother who says, I just didn't have time, he goes, I look at him and say, brother, it seems like you have 15 minutes now. Why don't you go and do it now and come back and tell us? And then he looks at me and says, and this is what killed me. He says, but back to your question. He says, you in America, you give people information every single week. They go and do nothing with it. And then they return and you just give them more. And that thing about accountability to say, where is
Right.
there some place in our cultural system, our system in the church and our disciple making culture that there is accountability. And again, I can't do that with 100 people on a Sunday and create
Right.
accountability, but there's those other spaces. So and Ben's, I mean, those words have been seared, and just he goes,